Hello and welcome to Inside the Keyway. Every episode we'll be looking at the NBL, stepping into the paint to break down what's really happening. The rotations, the defensive schemes, the impact, and the plays that swing seasons. If you love the NBL, you're in the right place. Hopefully, we'll sound like we know what we're talking about. So sit back, settle in, and let's step inside the Keyway. I'm your host, Cameron Porluck, and I'm joined by Nathan Shaw. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you for inviting me along.
It's my pleasure. So we've known each other for a little while now. We used to work together, and our friendship sort of formed around the Brisbane Bullets and basketball. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey with basketball?
Thank you, Cameron. I will. So I think I got into basketball at about the age of 12. I tried every other sport available to me first, failed miserably at everything. And then because I was tall, another tall friend of mine said, let's go and try basketball. And it worked out. It really worked out. I got into the NBL early 90s. It was when Channel 10 games were on at 11 p.m. to record them on the VHS and get up at 5 or 6 o'clock Saturday and Sunday mornings to watch the replays, no matter who was playing. It didn't matter to me, but I was a fan of the Bullets because of being in Brisbane. You Derek Rucker, Andre Moore, Leroy Loggins, Brian Curl days, and I really liked the Spectres. That was when Brian Goorjian had long flowing hair. Used to pace the sidelines with his Diet Coke. He had Bruce Bolden and Dean Newtoff. Kept following the league through the 90s and 2000s as from a distance, probably not as invested as I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Skip forward to 2019, as you said, we started working together. My first day at my new job, and I was trained by Cameron here, who within a couple of hours showed me his Bullets tattoo. And I knew we were onto a good thing there. Cameron was the most relentlessly positive Bullets fan I've ever come across, and still is. While I, on the other hand, oh, it's still pretty good. You're still pretty good. There's a lot worse. I was more of a reluctant supporter. I was happy to have a team back in Brisbane, and I felt like I needed to support them because I wanted a team to stay in Brisbane. But that's changed now. I've washed my hands of them. I can't go on.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I still get to the home games. Most of the home games. I've been listening to you and Tracy and Scott on your Bullets Nation podcast over the last 12 or so months, and I thought, gee, maybe I could do that. And then when you asked if I'd like to be involved in this, I'm like, yeah, I would like to be involved in that. So
yes, and I'm glad you said yes. Yeah, I'm glad you said yes.
All my opinions have just been going to you for the last few years, but now a lot of people can hear my opinions.
And so I believe now you're a bit of a Phoenix supporter.
Well, I wasn't gonna advertise that, but yeah. Josh King.
That's okay. Yeah.
Josh King won me over. I actually liked him immediately. So I'm a Phoenix supporter. I'm happy to say it. I've got a Phoenix jersey somewhere here. I also have a Spectres jersey and a Bullets jersey.
I saw the picture of you in your Phoenix jersey a couple of weeks ago. It broke my heart. Well,
if the Bullets start winning again, I'll just switch back. I'm a fair weather NBL supporter. I think I've supported Adelaide in my time. The Spectres, the Bullets, the Phoenix.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to switch.
That's okay. Awesome. So for those who know me, you'll know me from probably the Bullets Nation podcast, as Nathan pointed out, that I'm on with Tracy and Scott. For those that don't know me, as Nathan said, I am an avid Bullets supporter and have been since 1987. I went to my first game. It was the last game of the regular season of 1987, and we've been going ever since. Obviously, I was there when they won their last championship back in 2007, and I've been supporting them since their return and will continue to do so until the day I am no longer here. As Nathan said, I have a Bullets tattoo. That's how diehard I am. I am rusted on, and yes, I like to say that I'm probably not as optimistic as what I used to be, especially after this season, but I'm probably more optimistic than some out there. All right.
If they win 5 games in a row, will you show your tattoo?
Yes.
5.
Yeah.
We'll put it 5. Don't want to make it
put
more or less.
Put it at 5. I've already said if next time they win a championship, I add to it.
Yeah. I think you're all right for a while.
Yeah, I think I'm okay as well. All right, let's get into today's episode. We're going to focus on the seeding qualifiers and the playing qualifier and the run to the finals. So I've got a lovely diagram that I spent a bit of time working on because I'm a nerd. And we'll share that. Let's have a look at what I've got here. This is what the run to the finals looks like. We've got our play-in qualifier, which is United versus the JJs, and then the seeding qualifier, which is Phoenix versus Wildcats. If the winner out of the seeding qualifier goes on to play Adelaide in the playoffs, which is a best-of-5 series, and the winner out of the play-in qualifier will move on to the play-in game. And the loser of the seeding qualifier will join them in that. So that's going to be interesting to see who can get through to there. And then the winner of that game goes on to meet the Kings. And then out of the 2 playoffs, we'll see who makes it to the grand final.
I've got a bit of a dream scenario here. I was going to bring it up later when we talked about the actual games. But if these things happened, imagine this. If Perth beat Phoenix, we get potentially, assuming Melbourne United beat Tassie, we get a Phoenix and Melbourne United play-in game. Fantastic. We'd also get an Adelaide and Perth semi-final, which would be Cotton going back to Perth.
Yep.
And then there's a potential of a Sydney and South East Melbourne semi-final coming from that, and we saw all the drama a couple of weeks ago.
Yep, that could be interesting, very interesting. And hey, maybe even then a Adelaide-Sydney grand final, Davis v Cotton, which I think a lot of people kind of want to see.
I didn't even write that one down. I should have. That's ridiculous. But that would, after their back and forth at the MVP awards, the awards night, that'd be excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I'll get rid of that for us. And so we'll look at the seeding qualifier first. So you're going to look after this one for us because I figured you've converted to the dark side, so you can review your team and their chances.
That's fine. I'm happy to talk about that one. So what have we got? Wednesday night, we got South East Melbourne Perth in Melbourne. I've had a look at their season series. There was 2 early ones, and I think Phoenix won both of them. Then they played again January 1st, and if I look at my notes here, 11th of February, and Perth won both of those games, one in Perth and one in Melbourne, I think by 8 and 10 points. And in both of those games, they probably overran Phoenix in the last quarter. I wonder how Phoenix's game is going to translate to the playoffs. They really rely on the outside shot, hitting the run and gun. Get a turnover, get a steal, put up a 3, no matter who's in front of you. If the shot's not dropping, how's that going? And we know what playoffs are like. If the shot's not dropping, what's their backup plan? As for Perth, Doolittle is in fantastic form. I think matchup-wise, I actually heard on NBL Now this morning that John Brown III is going to take Doolittle, but at the same time, Doolittle is going to take Sobey.
That's interesting.
So I think he's put his hand up for that. So that'll be really good to watch either way. It's good for Sobey because Doolittle's going to have to work hard down one end.
Very much so.
But I think he's just played himself into the All-NBL first team over the last 6 or so weeks. So I think he'd back himself in there. One thing I do notice when these 2 teams play, and maybe just a bit in general at the moment, Geordie Hunter is not in great form. Against Melbourne last week, he might have had 3 points or something. I could have done my research and given you an exact number, but I think it was about 3 points. Those 2 games that Perth won last month, he had 3 points and 5 points in those 2 games. There's no backup center really. They can go small ball, play Brown. So if they can go into JLA, try to get Hunter in foul trouble, focus on that area. Pepper killed it for the Boomers on the weekend, and he's also been playing really well for Perth. Windler, you still got Windler, those 2 wins over the Phoenix. I think he had 23 and 27 points in those 2 games. So I think Perth have peaked at the right time. They're they're looking pretty good. And if all of those things fail, you've still got Henschel, Duke Jr. I would probably say I like Perth in this game, even though I'm a closet Phoenix fan. I think they're hitting their strides at the right time. They've probably got the better of the matchups. Stop Sobey, stop Phoenix.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be any cobwebs from both teams? Being that it's been well over a week since they both last played.
Yeah, that's a good question. Especially, and I'll throw it back at you. Do you think really being away with the Boomers is going to affect Perth? Really in Pepper?
Yeah.
I think they're flying into Perth today. From what I heard, the rest of Perth they all arrived today from Perth and wherever they were. They lose to, they beat?
Beat Philippines.
Philippines,
Guam.
that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think they'd know their systems well enough that it doesn't really matter if Really's not there, but they're going to have one day to prepare.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the same with you. I think all four teams are going to have a few cobwebs to start off with the games. I think early on it's going to be a little bit messy from all four teams across both games. I think the Boomers games has probably helped Pepper a little bit. I think that's going to keep him in some form. And I'll say the same for Krebs as well for Melbourne. I think the way both of those played, I think that'll do really well for them. In terms of really being away for coaching, as you said, they should have their processes and everything in place already to cover that. But we saw, I think it was Melbourne earlier in the season when they had
Vickerman went away,
and that kind of disadvantaged them a little bit. So only having that sort of 1 day turnaround, I think will hurt them a little bit. But I think with both teams coming out a bit slow, I think Perth will be able to adjust as well pretty quickly.
Who are you picking?
I think I'm going to go with Perth because I think I'm with you in terms of they've been playing really well towards the back end of this season, and I have been worried about Phoenix and how reliant they are on that three ball, and when teams, put pressure on that defensively, they don't really have another answer for it.
And you're traditionally a Phoenix hater?
I am a Phoenix, but in saying that, I hate Perth way more than I hate the Phoenix.
I see. I really like John Riley. I actually had notes here to talk about the coaches, and I forgot about it. But John Riley,
yeah,
he cops it every year, or the last few years while he's been there, he's copped it. But I think this year, with the team he's got, it's flying under the radar, but they've kept around that third and fourth spot.
Yeah.
I mean, Duke Jr.'s been up for ages. They don't have his son is a great point guard, but he's not there. They've been relying on him as the point guard. But look, I think he's done really well. Really, really well, considering what he's got. Keep that in. And I love Josh King. I love everything about him. I love everything he says. I love his mannerisms. I love when there's a Phoenix game on and I go down to Birdle to watch him. I watch him more than the game because he's just so invested. And I really like that if DJ Mitchell's a great example of this. He gets dragged after 35 seconds on the court.
Yep.
Gets absolutely roasted on the sideline, sits down, but then it gives him another chance 5 minutes later. And I like that. I like that from him. I love Josh King. I won't hear a bad word said about him.
No, I agree. I like him as well. Really's an interesting one because I love Really, obviously. He started with the Bullets. He does seem a little bit more humorless these days than what he was as a player, but
hold on, let me find my notes. I wrote something about that exactly. He was so loose as a player, and you very rarely see him smile. I saw him smiling a bit with the Boomers the other day, but you don't get a smile with Perth. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it's a whole different personality.
Yeah. So I don't mind either of them as coaches. I probably King over really slightly, just in the way he goes about things. But yes, it'll be a very interesting game.
So you got Perth. We both got Perth.
Both got Perth. So let's see how we go.
Mostly tipping Perth because of how it could play out afterwards. I think it'd be great.
Adelaide v Perth.
Yeah, Melbourne and the Melbourne assuming Melbourne beat Tassie, of course, the throwdown would be a great knockout game.
That it would. So yeah, let's move on to that, the play-in qualifier. So Melbourne United versus the JackJumpers at John Cain Arena. So what have we got? So United finished 5th, obviously, 20 and 13, and JJ's finished 6th at 14 and 19. And just a side note, I find it absolutely crazy that a team can finish with less than 500 win record.
A long way less, 5 games under.
Yeah, and still make it into the postseason. I believe there's a good reason for some of this, and we're actually going to be covering it in our final episode of Bullets Nation podcast next Sunday. Can
you give me a little sneak peek of what you think it is?
Yeah, so we're actually doing a big deep dive into the schedule and the whole travel and turnaround things and how that has affected teams. It also looking at how it deals with factors in with injuries and so forth. So yeah, we've done a bit of a deep dive into that. We were going to add it into our episode that we released yesterday, but if we had have done that, we would have been talking for 4 hours.
Yep.
So,
do you think there's an element of haves and have-nots as well? A Tassie on the fringe of the haves and have-nots? I think there's a divide. There's a pretty clear divide.
Yeah. I think that could be a bit of a part of it as well. And hey, that could all just come down to the money factor side of things as well, and what teams are willing to spend
And then that works into the schedule as well. Sydney get to play every home game on a Sunday afternoon. Melbourne get to play every home game whenever they want.
Yeah, and those are some of the things that we're looking at. So they the JJs and United played each other 3 times from what I could see this regular season. United won the first one, 85 to 84.
Round 1, I think. I remember Milton Doyle hit a massive second shot. Last minute.
That was round 1. And then JJ's won the last 2, so 92 to 73, and then 84 to 75. So they got up a little bit on them, and United struggled to get over 80 points, or couldn't even get over 80 points. So I went through and had a bit of a look at some key matchups here, and I had on offensive, I sort of looked at the offensive end more than defensive. I've got Milton Doyle versus David Johnson from the offensive end for both teams. Doyle's been United's go-to all season, although I think his efficiency's pretty horrid at times, and so is his shot choices. I know there's a lot of United fans that don't actually like him and hope he doesn't return next season. I do think he needs to return to that starting lineup. I just think that's super important for them to get themselves off to a flying start, and up against his old team, so he loves to come out and burn them. As you said, that first game they played this season, he hit that game-winning shot, so he'll be up for it. From a defensive position, I'd be throwing Nick Marshall at him just for some of that added length. I think that'll disrupt some of his shooting from out on the perimeter and force him to try and take it inside a bit more. And then as I said, for the JJs, I've got David Johnson. I think he'll test United's half-court defense. He's been shooting exceptionally well from the 3-point. He torched the Bullets for that 40-point loss that they had against the JJs. I think United need to really pressure him on that 3-point line and force him to try and take it inside. I'll get to why for that. I'd probably be throwing Finn Delaney at him for this one from a defensive point of view. Delaney's pretty solid defensively and can stay in front of the type of player that Johnson is, and just, as I said, make it difficult for him from that 3-point line. I've also got Jesse Edwards and Josh Bannon. Edwards has been such a strong inside presence for United all season. He started off extremely well. Everyone was like, he is the best big man in the league. He's had a bit of a foot. Yeah, not just him, quite a few. He sort of fell off from the middle of the season, which, seems to coincide with United's fall off as well.
Started fouling, started getting called.
Yeah, started getting called for a lot of the fouls. I think he needs to be a key focus for United in this game, just because JJs have such a smaller front court with Magne out. So yeah, in their mid-season clash against the JJs, he had 21 points and 10 rebounds. So he's really going to need to provide United with the same kind of output again. And Josh Bannon down the other end, he's been solid all season for the JackJumpers. He's their club MVP for a reason. He just does a little bit of everything. He was one of those players that I did not want to see leave the Bullets. It's amazing what a season of being healthy actually does for you. And I'd said at the end of last season, that's why I wanted him to return to the Bullets, because I wanted a healthy season out of him. For some reason, I think had he stayed, we wouldn't have got a healthy season out of him. Just the Bullets had their injury rows. So, he does pretty well playing in that undersized center role, but I think he's going to struggle a little bit here. He's going to have his work cut out for him. I think the JJs need to look at trying to keep the ball out of Edwards' hands in the low post. And if he does get it, throwing some double teams his way to force him to give it up. I think the JackJumpers defense is solid enough that they can do that sort of thing quite well. The other big matchup I had was actually both benches. I just think both benches, both teams have great depth at the bench. I think the only place where the JJs lack is their center position, but that's
effectively they're going to have. What are they going to have? Bannon and Majuk Dang going up against Edwards
and Krislovic, who I can be quite effective at times coming in off the bench. So yeah, I actually think this is where the game's going to be won or lost. Surprisingly, whichever bench is able to get out on top, I think that's the team that wins. So in that, I think United's bench is going to come out on top, and so I've got United winning this one. I think it'll be close, though. I think so. United's bench going to come out on top. Doyle's going to have a big one, and I just think United have that X factor in Goulding. As much as I'm not a Goulding fan, these types of situations is where he shows up.
The man can shoot,
and he just shoots.
What are your thoughts on Goulding over Krebs? Krebs is still off the bench, right?
Yeah, I've still got Krebs off the bench for now.
So they started 9-0 within starting, made the change.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Goulding's 37. He's getting. He hasn't finished a few games lately with the calves.
Yeah, I think starting maybe give Krebs more minutes as the game goes on, but I think starting Goulding in these big moments is key. I think that'll be key. So yeah, and I just think the JackJumpers injuries woes it's taken the toll on them. They've started to run out of steam towards the end of the season. I think they'll put up a good fight because you just know that that's what we'll manage to get out of them. So, yeah, Melbourne in a close one. Who have you got?
Did you watch? I've got Melbourne by 20 plus, just because I just feel like Tassie, as good as they've been, well, I mean, we say that, they're 14 and 19.
Yeah.
They're injured. They're so banged up. Magne and Hamilton out. I think they're just probably a bit cooked. But did you watch Tom Wilson in the first Boomers game on the weekend against Guam?
No, I didn't get to see any of it.
He was just short of a triple-double. He was getting a fair bit of court time for Melbourne at the start of the season, but I think at the moment he's not getting on it much at all. I think if Illy's out, I'd be getting him out there a bit because he looked, I mean, it was against Guam, which we only won by 10 to 12 or whatever it was, but he was creating plays. He was scoring himself. He was excellent. It was really good because he's a former Collingwood footy player.
Yes.
So I've got a bit of investment in him, and he was great. I hope he gets some time. I hope he gets a run out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got Tassie Melbourne by plenty.
Okay. Sweet.
And there's no poor reflection on Tassie, but I think they lost that last game by nearly 40 to Illawarra. I think they've hit the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. It's just the injury toll that's hit them. I think that's why I've got United winning. So yeah, so that's interesting. So if we go back and look at that, so we'd get your dream scenario: Perth v Adelaide, and then United v Phoenix in the play-in.
Well, I think it's the
game.
NBL's dream scenario as well. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I think they'd love that.
Yeah. And giving John Cain a bit of a workout.
Yeah. Yep.
2 quick games, and then I'm not too sure exactly when the play-in game actually takes place. I don't think they've...
Sunday.
That's Sunday? Okay. So, yeah, quick turnaround for John Cain Arena. Their staff has to know what they're doing. So, yeah, so that's pretty much what we've got at the moment in terms of the games coming up. We'll look at... We've got a bit of news to look at as well. So I think the big one that came out over the weekend was the Breakers and Petteri Koponen parting ways. It looks like Koponen's looking to pursue some opportunities closer to his home in Finland, which is, fair enough. And yeah, so, who do you think they should look at for next season?
There's a few. I mean, there's been a lot of talk that they're trying to stay very NZ centric. If that's the case, Judd Flavel's got to be the guy. He's doing well with the Tall Blacks. He's been in conversation for many jobs that have come up in the last couple of years. I think he would have to be the favourite, but they have claimed they're doing a global search, and if their global search is a proper global search, not a Brisbane Bullets, the office next door global search.
You know why I laugh, because when I saw that, I had a good chuckle. I'm like, are you sure it's a global search?
Well, see, I was thinking about that, and their last 3 coaches have been Koponen, Mayor, and Shamir, who couldn't be more global.
Yeah.
So maybe they do a legit global search. Mayor coming back would be pretty good. I think that'd be good. But I think one interesting thing is the CEO that they appointed a couple of weeks ago was the CEO at Perth, or he was at Perth for 20 years.
Yeah.
So he might have Trevor Gleeson's phone number on speed dial. He might be able to get involved in the Trevor Gleeson stakes, because if you're a coach, it'd be a good job. It'd be a great job.
Yeah.
They demand excellence over there. They're usually around the mark.
Yep. What about a potential return for Paulie Henare? You think he could be on the cards?
If they're going the New Zealand flavour, then they'd have to talk to him as well, I think. But that's who I've got. I've got Henare, Flavel, Mayor, just for selfish reasons, because he was another great one to watch on the sideline. And then I imagine they'd call Gleeson.
Yeah, you'd have to think that. I just from what we've heard via the Bullets podcast, Bullets Nation podcast, Weaver and Gleeson are the 2 that are looking at being the potential 2, one of those 2 basically. And I know Olgun Ulick was reporting the other day on his own, and we mentioned this in yesterday's episode, that talks are still ongoing with Weaver.
Yeah.
There's a lot of backwards and forwards, so it sounds positive, and Olgun feels like it's more likely to happen than not.
With Weaver.
Yeah, with Weaver. So that could potentially leave Gleeson open. But what was interesting was that Gleeson was on the table still as well. Yeah. And that means that it looks like the owners are willing to at least spend some money on a coach.
Look, I was going to ask you later about, we'll do that later soon, because when we talk about the others, actually it's now, because we're talking about the other teams. But if you're in New Zealand, who would you pick? You get to choose in New Zealand.
I'm probably going to go with Flavel. I think he deserves the shot. Yeah. He's the assistant coach currently as well.
I don't know if he's now, but he has been. Yes, he has been.
Yeah. The work he does with the New Zealand team has been great. He's been sort of on that outer for a little while now. I know when the Bullets were looking, I don't think it was the last round where they they did their global search.
Yeah.
But I think before that, he was on their list. And I think he's been sort of, on the edge for quite a while. So I'd probably like to see him have a good crack at it. And he's certainly got that rapport with all the New Zealand players. And
he could bring
that.
people from the Tall Blacks who aren't at the Breakers yet.
Yeah.
He could be bringing them home too.
Yes.
Also, just on Koppinen, easily the best dressed coach in the NBL. And the assistants, they all wore matching suits every game and they just looked sharp every game. So whoever's coming in, I can't imagine Trevor Gleeson coaching like that.
No, he's always a polo shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Koppinen, he was, I don't know, maybe he just wasn't the guy for the job. They missed the playoffs both years. But he was really well dressed, always. Does
that need to be a new NBL award, best dressed coach?
Yeah, it should be. It should be. I don't think there wouldn't even be a second place. Is anyone else even suit up?
Not these days, no.
It's all polos, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all polos. They've all got their polos on.
Like sometimes John really looks like he's just come home from the gym. But I was just going to ask you while we were talking about that, the other teams that missed the play-ins, Cairns and 40, Wollongong, Illawarra, and Tatum, and even the Bullets. What are your thoughts on those three?
I, for some reason, think 40 stays at Cairns for at least one more season.
If McVeigh's staying.
Yeah, I think with McVeigh staying, I think they had a really good relationship. I do, because they had their own injury woes. And then, you could argue that Schofield was not what they needed. Yeah, and we'll go do a deep dive on these teams in some later episodes. So I think 40's back for at least another season.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Tatum, I think it comes down to how he's feeling. If he feels he can go one more season and get what he got last season or the championship season out of them with a little bit of retooling, I think he stays as well.
He just has such a volatile relationship with the whole league that it just wouldn't surprise me if he just packed it in.
I wouldn't be surprised if he decided that he's had enough of the way he gets treated or the way he thinks he gets treated in the league. Yeah. So I'd like to see him go again. I actually quite like him as a coach. So I hope that he does stay. And for the Bullets, look, Gleeson or Weaver, I would be happy with either. I do believe Weaver wants to be basketball GM as well. So he wants coach and GM of basketball. I'm sort of okay with that because he's got a lot of relationships here in Australia, and so that doesn't bother me too much. I do think it's better having those roles separated, but hey, if he thinks he can do it and do it well, I just think he needs to make sure he's got his assistant coaches correct if that's the way he goes. And on that, I think he needs to perhaps look at keeping DMAC. And I was vocal about, because I was actually vocal at the start of this current season when they were looking, that I actually said once they decided not to bring Shula back, they needed a full clean out.
Yeah.
I think this time round, I think maybe DMAC stays. And those two can work quite well together, but I think Vandy may be gone. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays as well, but I just think we need a bit of a change up in there in some way. We kind of can't keep the same people in place and expect different results.
Absolutely. If the Bullets watch this and come to me and say, what should we do? Which they haven't yet in all of these years. They still haven't. I would probably lean towards Gleeson. His track record speaks for itself. He's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Weaver's probably come and gone a bit from different places and hasn't stayed anywhere too long. I think he's very good, very sharp, but I don't know that he's long term. And I love DMAC. I'm a 90s basketball kid, but I think I'd clean house and just start fresh.
Start again. Yeah. With Weaver, I'd want succession plan built in.
Yeah, and do you need that from the very beginning?
Yeah, I
if
think that needs
that means
to
you're
be
already
key.
thinking about going.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at with those three teams. And yeah, New Zealand, Flavel is my go. So
yeah, I like it.
Sweet. So
And 40 to stay.
40 to stay. Yeah. Bit of other news. So it was put out that Tyler Robertson is going to miss the remainder of the season for the Kings with the AC joint injury. So that AC joint, if you don't know what it is, it connects your collarbone to your shoulder and acts as a pivot for arm movement. This happened during the Kings game, their last game against the Bullets. It didn't look good at the time. I was there. I saw him basically run out through the exit, and he looked quite distressed at the end of the game. He was being consoled by his teammates and a lot of the staff then and there. So I think they knew at that point in time that it was probably end of season for him. So that's a bit sad because I thought he was doing well off the bench for them.
Yep, he had gained gorgeous trust, hadn't he?
Yeah. So and then just congratulations to Townsville Fire for winning the WNBL championship yesterday. They took it out in straight sets, I believe.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Yep.
It was
yep. 2-0 straight sets. So amazing work.
I watched game one.
Yeah.
In Townsville, it was the old Townsville Crocs Stadium, and it looked pretty full. Yep. And it really took me back to the days of the Crocodiles. It was great. But the quality of WNBL I haven't seen it that good before. And I think game 2 yesterday was as good a WNBL game as I've seen. It was a cracker.
Yeah, I've probably watched more WNBL this season than what I have in a while. I was expecting Lynx to come out a little bit more, give a bit more fight and take it to, because they only play a 3-game series, obviously.
Yeah.
So
they need to change that.
Yeah, I think that needs to be 5. So I was kind of hoping that they might push it all the way to 3. I'm a Annalie Maley fan. She is an absolute gun, double beast. You know, she even triple-double this season. So, yes, I've been enjoying the WNBL quite a bit this season, and hopefully we can have a team in Brisbane in a couple of years. I know there's stuff in the works there. And obviously we had the 2 Boomers games, so well done to the Boomers going 2 of 2 in this FIBA window, beating Guam and the Philippines. And as we pointed out, Pepper and Krebs both had absolute blinding games and were both cooking from 3-point land. I think Tanner shot 50% in the Philippines game.
Mitch Creek was a game turner yesterday in the third quarter. He defensively setting up for others. He was excellent.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
No, that's good. I have done everything on my list here.
Awesome. So we're going to try and keep these episodes at around the sort of anywhere between half an hour and an hour. Trying not to go over that hour mark, try to keep you interested. So that's it for this episode of Inside the Keyway. If you enjoy this episode, make sure you subscribe so you never miss one. You'll get turn on your notifications so you know when they drop. And, share it with someone who loves the NBL as much as you do. You can also follow us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, all is Inside the Keyway.
And where will we find is Spotify and YouTube?
So we'll be found on YouTube and Spotify. And with the system that we're using, I'm hoping I can also push directly to Apple Podcast. But that usually happens once you upload to Spotify anyway. So it just takes a little bit longer to get out there. So until next time, keep watching this space, respect the shot clock, and we'll see you inside the Keyway.
Thank you.